So you were saying you were having a lot of difficulty at the time, that you weren't getting enough out of. You were working very hard, a very good job, and then you were doing activism on the side, but it wasn't enough. Can you talk about what sort of kind of activism you were focusing on?
So I was a bit of all areas. So I did some anti-fracking stuff. Um, I did some that was anti-fascist resistance stuff because, um, yeah, at the time there were obviously there was a big, especially around Brexit, big focus on that.
Was that like sort of EDL sort of period?
Yeah. Um, Lots of bits. I was obviously stretching myself quite thin over lots of areas. So I left this. My mum was in the Social Party, which I then left and became an anarchist for a few years, and I came back to being a communist. I did my travels around the left and all the different parties. I was on the fringes of and just trying to work things out. And yeah, like I said, just stretching myself all over the place, like a bit of a mess.
Was there anything at the time like anti-fracking? Did you get any, like, I don't want to say fulfillment, but that's so to someone that really cares, that's what it is. It's if you just care about doing better, making things better, then you're doing that when you feel that fulfillment. And was there anything that was giving you a bit of that, giving you some hope?
I think with social change, I think this it's kind of like job fulfillment, right? Like when you do, like when I was fixing alarms, when I fixed an alarm, I got instant serotonin and dopamine from that fixing that issue. But when you're actually doing change, as in same with my work now in addiction, you're looking at very long term change, and it's not always instantaneous, and it's not always quick, and it's not always easy. And I think as a young person, and my advice to young activists now is just be patient as well with it. I know the world is burning, and I know it feels like it's all doom and gloom. But social change is both quick and it's slow. It's kind of dialectically both rapid and slow.
You need to take your time. You can't. I know it's very hard, like you said, but you have to be able to disconnect the emotions too much, because otherwise, like you say, you spread
Yeah, and I
yourself.
was very emotional when I was young. I'm still emotional for now, but I was very emotional as a
Well, how
young
can you
person.
not be at the same time? It's an impossible balance, but it's one we have to make
Yeah.
to get anywhere.
Plus, this distinction between activism and organising, and later on, I learned the two. And activism is trying to get these quick wins and quick solves, and it's not actually building anything. Whereas organising is building something within our communities, building something that is going to last long term, building something that is going to go from small win to bigger win to bigger win to bigger win for our class, for our communities, for everything. At the time, I didn't understand the difference, and I was just an activist. And much later on, when I learned about organising, I realised that actually organising in our communities is a way forward.
So, but you're working at the time. You're spreading yourself a bit thin. You're having you're wearing down. That's the best way I think I can put it. What happened? How did you get out of that? Did it?
So I left. I broke up with a partner who wasn't very nice to me, and then I was kind of homeless, and I was just thinking, where is this kind of going? Like I was really wearing myself thin. As I said, I lost loads of weight. My health was not great. What am I trying to do here? And through through the stuff I'd done with Antifa, I'd kind of learned of the Rojava Revolution, which happened in 2012 in northeastern Syria, and about them building power in the Middle East, which is obviously a region I feel very connected to emotionally, and actually having this revolution there, this democratic, people's-led, women's-led revolution. Um, and so I thought, well, I've got nothing else to lose. I want to make a difference. I want to make a positive difference in this world after everything I've seen and been through. If I can make the world better just for just one person, then I
And that
know.
was the best way to do it.
Well, I felt, being in the direct line, whereas in Britain there are in Britain there's so many front lines and they're so obscured and they're so hard to get to. Whereas there's very clear front line.
Things were a lot simpler, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. You're fighting the hard work has begun in some ways, but you're fighting a much clearer target. The people have taken the power, whereas in Britain, the people don't have the power. Over there, the people had already taken the power. So there was this young lad I'd met through Antifa, and he was also wanting to go over. And yeah, we made plans. My friend had actually, one of my best friends, he'd actually tried to go over, been arrested and jailed in Erbil.
Erbil
Is Iraqi Kurdistan. Apologies. So the there's Bashur, which is Iraqi Kurdistan, and it's in the north of Iraq. Under Saddam Hussein, the Kurds they had suffered horrendously, like Al Anfal, when Saddam Hussein used chemical gas on them. Really horrible treatment. That's ruled by the Kurdish Democratic Party, KDP, which is headed by the Bazani tribe. So Mahmoud Bazani, and he had created independence for that part of Kurdistan post-war. Sorry, no, not post-war, but he was fought for independence in that part of Kurdistan, and they managed to get it now and then. And then actually wipe that bit because I'm not too sure on the historical accuracy. Then there's Rojilat, which is Iranian Kurdistan, which has suffered heavily under the regime of the Ayatollah. Last year or over the years, we've seen, the morality police, or as I like to call them, immorality police, do terrible things, especially to Kurdish women. So women are treated terribly, but if you're a Kurdish woman in Iran, your treatment's even worse. Then you've got Bakur, which is northern Kurdistan, which is in Turkey. Again, people's perceptions of Turkey are this lovely, beautiful holiday country. It's actually completely politically unstable. It's had 3 fascist coups since the 1970s. It's constantly under the state of warfare, guerrilla warfare, not just from the left, but also from the right. Yeah, the Kurds in Turkey, even though they might have rights by law, if they catch you speaking Kurdish in some cities, you might disappear, basically.
And that's still going on today.
Yeah, still going on today. Not just Kurdish. I saw a clip from Parliament where an Assyrian Christian stood up and on the Assyrian New Year, Ekido Bricho, no, I keep wipe that bit. On the Assyrian New Year, started speaking in Aramaic, obviously one of the most ancient languages in the world, his mother tongue, and he was being booed by Turkish politicians. So even Assyrian Christians can't speak their own language comfortably in Turkey. Obviously, Armenians also had the Armenian genocide committed by the Turkish state. There was a Dersim genocide, Dersim being a largely Kurdish town, committed by the Turkish state. Arabs also treated terribly. So really ultra nationalist, very violent and volatile country. Then Syria, which again under the Ba'ath regime, so similar to Saddam Hussein, the regime of the Assad, now Bashar al-Assad, but before that it was his father, Hafez al-Assad, who also treated the Kurds awfully and Armenians. But they pushed back when ISIS had arrived, the Islamic State, which was set up by former Ba'athist leaders. They pushed back and created their own revolution, which totally went, which totally endorsed all the kind of stuff we've been talking about on the left for years, the sense of community, this, women in leadership or women's liberation. Everything we talk about was being actualized in northeastern Syria.
So you learned about all this stuff before you were going?
I learned bits and bobs, but when I got there, the sheer weight of it really hit me. Yeah.
It's a whole different feeling. Sitting down and second you're around them. So what was it? Well, actually, first of all, before I even get to, because I want to know what specifically it was that drew you to that. Obviously, you were looking for something more, and this is a beautiful beacon, but there's so many different aspects of it that can draw so many different people. I want to know that. But first of all, you said you became aware of it because of your involvement in anti-fascism and Antifa. Like for a lot of people, that's more and more become quite a loaded term. The news has always gone on about, especially in America. What did anti-fascism mean to you, and what was your motivation to step up towards it?
Well, coming from a multicultural area in East London, obviously very, I was one of only a few white kids in my class, and not even like white, like they were Irish or mixed or like myself. People coming into your area or holding demonstrations and marching through your area, talking about things that are completely not only untrue but utterly vile and basically trying to cause disharmony and divide and conquer and divide and divide and conquer. If you look at the kind of top dogs in the ADL and all these far right groups, are they on the estates? No, they're not. And they're kind of like leading these young men astray. Well, they did lead. Now it seems to have gone in a different direction with Tate and who the other ones, Peterson and all these snake oil salesmen. So taking all these young lost British boys and slapping this kind of answer, and then using them as the foot soldiers to divide and conquer. And like I said,
and you weren't going to have that.
No,
especially not in your own area.
Absolutely not. In my area, it didn't matter what colour you were or where you came from. We were all together in a community. We're all suffering together. We're all suffering because of the same problems, and we're all experiencing joys together.
It's a very beautiful thing, and like you said it before, it's something more and more people lack.
Yeah, and now it's even more pernicious with people like Peterson and Tate, and it's even more, I say, alienating for these young men.
Because they're all online, they're just sitting indoors getting told the worst stuff from everywhere else, and you need to listen to me and give me all your money and then I'll save you.
The topic of masculinity is really interesting. I'll talk about it, I suppose, when we get to Kurdistan, because, working class men do suffer. There is huge amounts of alienation in our society and they are unhappy. I think it's wrong for the left not to recognise that they are unhappy.
Yeah, there is a big gap there, definitely, in terms of support.
It's getting better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
one of the marginalised communities, doesn't matter how, but they're marginalised. But on the topic of masculinity and that kind of thing, in my experience, obviously growing up as my Irish background and being aware of sort of things like Celtic and that, because obviously there's a lot of prejudice, or there was back in the day, and so I would have become always sort of, especially in the background of the north of Ireland, and things are very black and white, and there is a lot of very vitriolic hate, and so for me to see that, and then of course there's a pushback always from those communities that are being pushed against.
Yeah.
But something I was always aware of was it's a very male-dominated thing, and that's understandable. There's a lot of aggro and fighting and that stuff, and I think it changed a lot when I was a teenager and coming into it. But certainly the established movement that there was very few women in it. Not none at all, and there's some amazing women that have done some amazing things.
Yeah, definitely.
But there were very few women in it, and I wonder, just for you as a woman, what do you think it was that pushed you to go that extra mile?
I think it's interesting because also femininity is an interesting thing. Masculinity and femininity, regardless of whatever gender you feel yourself to be. So this idea of toughness and being strong is generally masculine coded traits. Strong, silent, walking tough, acting tough. Me with my light voice and my love of the colour pink and my love of baby animals and cute things. I'm not people's idea of when it comes to tough. Actually, being strong is about resilience and tenacity. It's not about acting like, I don't know. Also, a really macho film, Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator. That is that you
Yeah,
know,
that won't take you very far. If you're
no.
walking around like that all the time, someone's gonna pull you out.
Yeah, literally. But what is tough, what is being tough, what is being strong, and I see a lot of women also make this mistake, and they often have quite a lot of internalized misogyny. So they've kind of rebel against anything that's coded feminine because they see it as weak themselves. Perhaps they see it from like also issues towards them with their mother or women in their lives. That's getting quite deep in psychotherapy, but and I saw a lot of internalized misogyny from other women, which I also hated. Again, the Kurdish movement answered a lot of my questions and solved a lot of that. But yeah, so it was tough. It was tough being quite a feminine woman, and I didn't want to pretend or start acting like anything I wasn't.
You didn't want to compromise your values.
No, or be someone I wasn't. I am who I am. I'm not going to change just to fit into your idea of what being tough is. Because toughness to me is some of the most feminine women, some of the most masculine men, some of the most masculine women, non-binary people, trans women, trans men. So much strength from their resilience, not from being antisocial or walking with a slight swagger or talking about how they're going to beat someone up. That's not strength. Your strength is your ability to, even when you're at your lowest, or even when everything's falling around you, even when your heart is breaking or your body's breaking, to pick yourself up and keep going.
And to keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's the most strong any person can be.
And be empathetic with it, to love in the face of hatred.
If you can keep that alive,
yeah,
that's the biggest struggle.
Yeah, that's being strong.
Absolutely.
So yeah, again, it was hard because again, you want to be around other women and you want to have that lovely solidarity and connection with other people around you. But if they hate women too, it sucks. I'm not saying that there's obviously loads of wonderful women and Antifa and lots of wonderful men. And I'm saying this about the left more broadly. I've seen, lots of older women, old school kind of like third wave feminists and second wave feminists have horrendous internalized misogyny. But especially towards younger women coming into the movement.
Well, we've all got a long way to go, every single one of us. But
Yeah.
so that's very interesting to show like your mentality, and what keeps you going is just knowing that you're strong enough to be able to do that. So
I can take a good kicking, that's for sure.
So what happened after? So you said, sorry, I got caught up there. I want to imagine you being kicked. So what was it in particular that drew you to Rojava? You're getting more and more involved in stepping up to the front lines in this country, and then you hear about this kind of thing going on from the people around you. What was it?
I'll tell you what it was. Actually, I remember clearly. So Grenfell just happened, and me and a friend, we marched for Grenfell. It just happened. The news completely rocked a lot of us to our core, broke our hearts. But we were walking down Ladbroke Grove. The smell of smoke was still in the air. Everyone's faces were sullen. There was this feeling of shock and horror. And the closer we got, the stronger the smell, burning smell. And we turned the corner and we just saw it. This withered husk of a building. And it was, as soon as everyone turned the corner, everyone just fell silent. And to know that something like that had happened in this country and was allowed to happen by this government, there was it didn't seem like there was justice in sight.
Still doesn't seem like that.
No. And obviously, there were loads of survivors at the bottom still getting help, and I just thought, yeah, I need to do something really, really big as possible with all this pain and anger and frustration and lack of the progression of the fight back in the UK. I need to take it to the next level, and obviously, Rojava was that next level. I think also my proximity to the Middle East, I'd seen more and more images of like positivity over there, but also what they had to face, as a woman to know what the women were going through at the hands of the Islamic State. You'd have to have a real cold heart, even as a man, to not be.
Absolutely. And so you decided you had to get out there.
Yeah. When I saw that, and I saw that, the left didn't really respond. I mean, they did. They set up, obviously, Grenfell Solidarity campaign, but there should have been such a huge...
I know, like, I don't mean... The 99% of any good that was done by the people directly around Grenfell for all the people that survived Grenfell. 99% of it.
Exactly.
I'll give 1% to, I won't give a single percentage to like Red Cross or any of the big charities. I'll give 1% to the general solidarity, but 99% of what kept those people going was the people around.
Yeah, but the left's I mean, you could have mobilised, because obviously the housing crisis was also deepening, and there were loads of people. There are still loads of people in flammable flats with flammable cladding. There's still loads of people in overcrowding. When I was working as an organiser, I saw families of 5 in one room in these massive tower blocks. You could have mobilised so many people out in solidarity to push for actual change, and nothing happened.
Who would have done it?
Well, who would have? That's a big question. So, and to know that the left has got so far in one region, not just any region, but a region that my family had been so close to and organised for and had seen horrific defeat, but now was winning.
You couldn't stop yourself.
Yeah, basically.
So, what was the next steps? Did you like book a flight the next day, or did you have to wait? What was...
There was a lot of planning involved. I had to move my stuff around. I also wrote loads of people letters. I think some of them might have read it sneakily. I told them not to read it unless something happened to me.
Very, very conscientious of you to do.
I just wanted to...
When you have that urge to just go and do something, to take time and care about people around you, that's again just an extra level of strength and resolve.
Yeah, I still feel some guilt because my family were really broken by me leaving. And I know I hurt them by going, but I'm sorry for the hurt I caused, but I'm not sorry that I did it.
What could you be for? Okay. So did you know anyone out there, or that was...
I knew people had gone out. I knew people who had gone out, and obviously this lad from Antifa, who had met for Antifa, he was planning on going out, so we were going to go on the cohort together, kind of thing. Obviously, my friend had been arrested and jailed in Erbil for trying to go out. My granddad actually kind of helped him get out of jail in Erbil at the same time. I was planning to go out and then left. So while my family was distracted helping my friend. And I think...
So I'm not sure if I got that before, so just to go over that story completely.
Yeah. So my friend had tried to go out before me.
Go and support that. So.
Yeah. And he'd got arrested by the Peshmerga in Erbil. So the KDP, Kurdistan and Bashar, Iraqi Kurdistan, are not friends with PYD or PYD, who are the party in northeastern, the slate, the top party in that slate. So the Peshmerga and KDP and Rojava sometimes have some slight tensions between them. And the Peshmerga caught my friend, and he was imprisoned and had a real rough time of it before being sent back to the UK.
How long was he out there in prison?
I think he was in prison for a month, or maybe more.
Yeah, I think it was a good period from what I remember hearing about it.
Yeah, he was interviewed by The Guardian about his experiences and things. But
so even after hearing like your one of your best friends has tried to get out there, he's been imprisoned in quite horrific conditions, like, and then he's been able to hear about all that, and you still didn't stop you.
I'm a classic tourist. We're very stubborn. Once we get set on something, there's nothing that can stop you. I'm very Taurus sun, Leo rising, Scorpio moon.
I don't know what any of that
everything.
means. I know Taurus is like a bull, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that I can understand that.
Yeah.
That's as much imagery.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
yeah, that's the gist of it. Like when I'm quite an easygoing person.
So yeah, so we've decided to go even on all the
Yeah.
risks, all the potential downfalls that could happen before you'd even get there, let alone all the all the things that could happen once you're there. You knew you had to go there. You went there. How was it?
Um, so crossing was an experience. It was quite funny, and again, this comes back to the thing of resilience. Like we were held at gunpoint at one point by the Peshmerga, but there were like a big group of us with other Kurds. They were flashing. It was middle of night. I think we walked for like 10 hours up and down and through hills, and the Peshmerga were flashing these huge flashlights, and every time they did, we'd have to jump on our stomachs. And me and the girls at the front were just giggling. We were just laughing our heads off and getting told off. We were laughing.
So the girls, they were like
Kurdish girls, yeah, they were just crossing, but we were just busting ourselves laughing. And then we kept Peshmerga couldn't do anything when they caught us because it was like massive. Like there was only two of them, and like how many of us? So, but it was quite funny. When I was slightly terrified, not of the Peshmerga, but just of making a fool of myself, like falling down or like.
Make a good first impression.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't want to fall my face in the mud or something. That would have been so embarrassing. Actually, I did do that, but anyway. So yeah, we walked for hours.
It was dark.
Yeah.
You didn't have the big flashlight helping you up.
No, but I very visibly fell face down in the mud. But that aside, it was pretty straight. I mean, it was exhausting, like 10 hours in the dark, and you know, you can only see a tiny bit in front of you, so you don't know where your feet are going. Managed to get there, and when I saw the trucks at the bottom there to pick us up, and like the Kurdish girl she said like, you know, that's Rojava. I remember just feeling this weird feeling of like this rush of like excitement, nervousness, freedom, but also kind of, you know, when you can feel something's opening up, like this is something unreal. And yeah, we boarded the trucks, and I went to go see the women's room with the YPJ in Karachok. So Karachok is a small town in northeastern Syria. It had a massive, very horrific attack on Karachok mountain. There was a very horrific battle with the Turkish army, you know, bombing and massacring like loads of YPG and YPJ there, as well as civilians. But actually,
When did that happen?
Actually, cut that civilian parts. I don't want to get called up on. I'm sure it happened, but.
And when did that Correctional thing happen?
The Battle of Karachok, I'm not sure, but it happened a few years before I'd got out there, so you know, it's still very fresh in people's minds. But I remember Karachok because it was like it's almost like this liminal place. It was like this place which was portal between two worlds. It's like subterranean. It was the only place in Rojava I knew where every time I went there it rained. It was just stony with like loads of green hills, and it felt like being in between two worlds, like the portal. It did, honestly. And I went to stay in the women's room, and I was just flooded by like women from the moment I woke up, just really excited because I was the first foreigner that I'd ever seen. And, you know, they were just chattering all at once. And I got my notebook and started learning Kurdish like immediately. Yeah. And just trying to desperately learn the language. But I was just immediately felt this warm embrace from like the women.
And did that, you'd spoken a lot before, like in the run up to going off, you've been losing a lot of hope and you've been wearing down. How did that affect that feeling for you?
When you see all these young people, you know, these young women from all walks, Kurdish women, Arab women, Syrian women, from all walks of life, being hopeful and excited and, you know, having the same values you do, it's like a spark lights up inside of you. Like they were, you know, so warm and so welcoming immediately. Because there was an instant friendship, almost like you're one of us. We're here together, kind of thing. And I'd never felt that before. It was a really beautiful feeling. Like it felt something like I was a part of something not only greater than myself, but something that was so full of love and transformation.
The only way you can describe it is just beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was also overwhelming when they were just literally just chatting like Kurdish at me, and I was like, I don't understand what you're saying.
But it's
Um,
exciting.
yeah, it was exciting. And yeah, then we were driven into Karmasho for before doing the military training.